Every morning, I hear a soft little tap beneath my bedroom door. I don't even have to look. I already know who's waiting on the other side. A few seconds later, Bird Boss squeezes through the gap, flies straight onto my shoulder, fluffs up his feathers like he's scolding me for sleeping in, and starts chattering non-stop as if he's catching me up on everything that happened since the night before. Then he'll play with my hair, make funny little sounds that honestly sound more like a cat than a bird, and insist that I talk back to him. People always laugh and say we sound like two lovebirds having our morning gossip, but what they don't know is 13 years ago, Bird Boss was just a tiny baby starling lying in the middle of a busy road, and I almost walked right past him. That day, I was walking down the road when I heard the faintest little cries coming from the shoulder. When I looked closer, I found a tiny baby starling curled up all alone. He was so small he could almost fit in the palm of my hand. Bird Boss kept lifting his head and crying for help over and over again, while people walked past as if they couldn't hear him at all. I didn't pick him up right away. I knew that parent birds sometimes return once they feel it's safe, so I stepped back and waited. I hoped his mother, or at least another bird from the flock, would come back for him. But hour after hour passed, and no one ever did. That's when I realized that if I walked away too, this little bird probably wouldn't survive another day. I brought Bird Boss home with one simple goal. I just wanted to help him get strong enough to return to the sky where he belonged. Honestly, I never imagined I'd still be sharing my life with that little bird more than 13 years later. Those first few weeks were incredibly challenging. Bird Boss was far too young to eat or care for himself. I reached out to wildlife rehabilitation specialists to learn how to care for him properly. Every 3 hours, day and night, I fed him, kept him warm, and watched over every tiny change. If I left the room for even a few minutes, he'd cry out in panic, as if he was terrified of being abandoned all over again. At first, Bird Boss didn't trust me either. Every time I reached my hand toward him, he'd pull back in fear. But little by little, day after day, I think he started to realize that I wasn't there to hurt him. I was simply trying to help him survive. Then everything began to change. Bird Boss was no longer the frightened little bird I'd first brought home. His real personality started to shine through. He was clever, playful, loved being the center of attention, and somehow managed to make the whole house revolve around him. Honestly, his name couldn't have been more perfect. Bird Boss truly became the boss of the house. He expected his meals exactly on schedule, and if I was even a little late, he'd stand right in front of me and stare as if to say, "Don't even think about pretending you forgot." Every morning while I put on my makeup, Bird Boss would fly over and perch on my shoulder or sit in front of the mirror. He seemed convinced that getting ready was a team effort. Sometimes he'd watch every makeup brush and every little product so closely that it looked like he was inspecting my work. But that was only the beginning. Whatever I was doing, Bird Boss wanted to be part of it. If I watched TV, he watched with me. If I took a shower, he'd fly into the bathroom to supervise. Even when I just wanted to sit quietly and read a book, he'd always find a spot as close to me as possible. Mama. I'll admit there were days when I wished I had just a little more personal space. But then Bird Boss would tilt his head, chirp excitedly the moment I walked into the room, and all those thoughts would disappear. He was never trying to be a nuisance. He simply wanted to stay close to the person he trusted most. As Bird Boss got older, I started thinking about releasing him back into the wild. That had always been the plan from the very beginning. I never wanted to keep a wild bird if he had the chance to live the life nature intended for him. So I reached out to wildlife specialists for advice. After evaluating Bird Boss, they told me something that made me feel both heartbroken and relieved at the same time. He most likely wouldn't survive on his own in the wild. He had grown up around people and had never learnt how to find food, avoid predators, or survive like a wild starling should. "13 years have passed since the day I found that tiny baby bird on the side of the road. Even now, Bird Boss is still the sweetest alarm clock I could ever ask for. Every single morning, he taps on my door, slips into my room, lands on my shoulder, and starts our own little morning conversation. To everyone else, they're probably just bird sounds. But to me, it's the greeting of a best friend who's been by my side for more than a decade." I used to think I was the one who saved Bird Boss that day, but the older we both get, the more I realize he probably saved me too in his own way. Bird Boss has filled my mornings with laughter, little conversations, and countless moments of joy. All because I stopped on the side of the road that day. I ended up gaining a new member of my family. And every morning when I hear that soft little tap beneath my bedroom door, I can't help but smile, because I know there's one tiny heart on the other side, excited to say, "Good morning, Mum."